So, numerous weeks ago, we witnessed the final conclusion of the Acolyte series by Leslye Headland, the showrunner and the director of this thing that really steers Star Wars in the worst possible direction under Kathleen Kennedy's leadership and everything else that came along with it, including the ratings disaster, the Rotten Tomatoes score, everything with the reviews hitting a record low. Even for Lucasfilm, we have never seen a terrible project like this coming from Lucasfilm, and this is all because of Disney's overall agenda and hiring Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, Leslye Headland. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So, if you have seen all 8 episodes of The Acolyte, and you have survived the treacherous overall experience that was, of course, this story in particular, we know that Leslye Headland had a deliberate agenda with this thing going into this actual series to focus on ideology over art, to focus on an agenda, essentially, over a proper story or proper character development. And there's been a lot of bitterness coming from Leslye Headland in recent days, attacking the fans again and again, and this seems to be their only way to cope with the overall failure that is The Acolyte. That really makes The Last Jedi, as far as I see things, guys, look even a little bit more decent when comparing the two in contrast, but that's just me. Now, moving away from all of this, alright, focusing on Leslye Headland here, this is where things begin to get quite serious when it comes to her overall vision of the quote-unquote toxic fan base, and this is all coming in the wake of all of the drama happening at Lucasfilm HQ after Bob Iger called off The Acolyte Season 2 as Kathleen Kennedy is desperately trying to reinstate it as soon as possible. Now, with many divisions at the Walt Disney Company going through various setbacks and challenges, one division, such as Lucasfilm, is already beginning to fall into serious trouble after the Acolyte ratings disaster recently worsened via the Nielsen ratings reports that went public. One major development now has more to do with director Leslye Headland of The Acolyte attacking Star Wars fans yet again, and her reaction after The Acolyte Season 2 was cancelled behind the scenes, as Leslye and Kathy battled Disney to reinstate it as soon as possible. Now, Leslye delivered the following. Look, I'm a damn grown woman who fully understands where Star Wars comes from. If you take a closer look at the expanded universe, where there was just so much to cherry pick from that was able to fit the story that properly focuses on the growing issues with sexism and properly representing the LGBTQ community, when I signed on to The Acolyte, I knew that this was my chance to really implement those of the LGBTQ community to have characters inspired from the expanded universe. And we really did this with Osha and May, and Mother Coral and Anastasia, that I will be willing to discuss another time. I mean, that was my priority with this project before we really got to the story. We had to address benign sexism with the character of Soul and his impact on Osha and May's lives, of having this control in their life from a Jedi. I really wanted to change the meaning of what it means to be good or bad, because many good guys have bad tendencies, and many bad guys can have good tendencies as well, and I wanted people to understand that. Many keep asking me about Season 2, and I just don't even want to go into that subject right now. I just have nothing to say right now about Season 2. But focusing on what I think The Acolyte stands for, which is a story that I was inspired to make based on the bold decisions that were made by The Last Jedi's Rian Johnson, who was of great help to me as a creator to do something powerful. If you look very close, you will see endless parallels to The Last Jedi, and this is all intentional. Now guys, let me just stop here before I move on about what Leslye is spewing once again about The Acolyte. Now, she keeps talking about benign sexism this, or representing the LGBTQ community that, and it's always about an agenda or an ideology. Now look, representation is okay, I guess, to a degree when it comes organically, when it comes naturally throughout the writing process. When you're making a script, if it so happens to fit the story naturally, so be it. But if you're doing something just out of doing it, or out of spite against loyal and passionate fans, which it seemingly is becoming more and more apparent that this is being done out of spite, to kind of really, wind up a lot of fans, to rile up a lot of fans, that's what it seems like at this point, does it not, guys? Kathy Kennedy Leslye Headland, Amandla, Stenberg, you know, saying all these things to really kind of get fans really tied up in a knot. It's possible, who knows? But I think that they really do and genuinely believe every single word that they're saying because they're insane. I mean, simply put, they're insane individuals. They don't really know what they're talking about. They don't care about a brand like Star Wars or anything else related to George Lucas's vision. They only care about using the Star Wars label to really kind of sell off their terrible story, and they basically learned this all, by the way, from Rian Johnson. I mean, he was like the pioneer, right, of doing terrible things in the Star Wars universe. But focusing away from all of this, she continues. But I just think the loud, toxic minority of fans need to chill already. In fact, I don't even see them as fans if you are against a bold new vision that expands the brand to a new level that we have never seen before. I think all these males that look up to George and only expect him to make a good story is part of the problem and the misogyny coming from the toxic side of the fan base. It was my goal to really hire an entire team with the approval of Kathleen Kennedy to really have a team of our wonderful cast and crew that knew nothing about Star Wars. Many toxic fans will label that as incompetent, but I rather see it as a way to have an unbiased cast and crew, which really made the production very smooth for us here at Lucasfilm, and Kathy was all for it. And working with Amandla, who really wanted her characters to be non-binary, I was glad to make that and put that into reality for the story to have these non-binary characters in Star Wars. There you have it again. I mean, she's addressing the fact that, yeah, Amandla Stenberg is non-binary, and she wanted her characters Osha and May to be non-binary. Not a big shocker, right? I guess that was basically her shoehorn, or her way to kind of make that possible, because those characters were created by the witches and everything in that sense. But looking at everything here, we know that there's a lot of problems going on with this show because of how much, you know, clearer it was made by Leslye Headland and among others that they really just don't care about the loyal fans, the passionate fans that purchased the merchandise, that supported this brand for well over 40 plus years, only to be turned against. You know, basically from Lucasfilm, from Disney, they basically were mistreated. And that's really putting things lightly there. What Disney CEO Bob Iger has done, what Kathleen Kennedy has done over the past couple of years, I don't believe it can be undone. I don't believe it can be fixed. The damage is beyond repair as far as I see things. I don't know if you guys saw the leaked footage of the trailer for The Mandalorian and Grogu, but it came across as very odd to me. I really was not impressed. That's where I am right now with Star Wars. I don't know about you, but I just flat out don't care about The Mandalorian and Grogu as a film, let alone, that's a very odd title to choose for a Star Wars movie. Call me crazy, but it just is as far as I see things. But we all have differing opinions, right? And that's welcome here below in the comments. And speaking about the comments, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about Leslye Headland's overall view of the fandom, the Acolyte failure, and really defending this thing like no tomorrow. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.